Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're going to begin Canto 4 today from Brilliant as the Sun, a retelling of Srimad Bhagavatam, the title of which is Krishna Fulfills All Desires. We'll read from the introduction and prologue today. In this fifth volume of Brilliant as the Sun, we covered the whole fourth canto. This deals with Visarga or secondary creation, and specifically with the dynasties of the universal progenitors or the Prajapatis. There are four main narratives: Prajapati Daksha's sacrifice, the story of the boy Saint Dhruva, the story of King Prithu, an empowered incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and the story of the Prachetas, the 10 sons of King Prachin Barhi. Each of these personalities evinces a particular desire corresponding to one of the four great aims of life in Vedic theology, known as the Purusharthas. These are dharma or religion, artha or profit, kama or material desire, and moksha or liberation. Each of the four aforementioned personalities, the 10 Prachetas, can be considered as one, approach the Lord with the aim of achieving respectively each of these aims. The Lord then fulfills their desires in his own special way, and hence the title of the book, Krishna Fulfills All Desires. The abiding message throughout the canto is that bhakti or devotional service to Krishna is the best and ultimately only way to achieve happiness and success. As with previous volumes in the series, we have drawn primarily from the translation and commentary of our teacher Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We have also consulted Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary to help us better understand the flow and intent of the verses. We have also had access to other Acharyas' commentaries through the kind agency of His Grace Kartik Chandradas, a Sanskrit scholar. This is a dramatic retelling, so we have occasionally used our imagination in describing the inner drama of the personalities and in painting the contextual picture. However, we have strived to stay true to the philosophical instructions of the original text. Our chief aim is to invoke in our readers an appreciation for the wondrous narrations and profound spiritual messages of Srimad Bhagavatam, with the hope that it will encourage you to study Srila Prabhupada's commentaries, which were written specifically for the modern reader. If after reading our book you feel inspired to delve into the sublime teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, we will consider our efforts to be successful. We make no claim to be self-realized souls who have any revelation of divine truth. We are only too aware of our shortcomings and hence the possibility that our book may contain errors. So should you happen to note any, we would be happy to have these pointed out. Falling at the feet of our teacher Srila Prabhupada, hoping for his divine mercy and blessings, we present this book for his pleasure. So this was by His Grace Krishna Dharma Prabhu and Her Grace Chintamani Dham Mataji, the authors of this volume. Prologue. As the sun rose over Naimisharanya forest, 88,000 sages took their places in a great clearing. A sense of anticipation pervaded as they eagerly waited for Sutta Goswami to commence his third day of instruction. One elderly sage murmured to his friend, "We have struggled for many years to find a remedy for the horrors of Kali Yuga. I was becoming hopeless that we would succeed. Hearing Sutta speak these last 2 days has given me hope." His friend replied, "Yes, I feel the same. This Srimad Bhagavatam he is narrating could well be the powerful enough to rescue anyone from the suffering. Look, here he comes." All the sages rose as Sutta entered the clearing, followed by Shaunak Rishi. After he was seated, Sutta greeted them all warmly before reciting invocatory prayers. Then he turned to Shaunak, who had sat in front of him. You have consulted with many of the revered saints present. Please tell me what they would like to hear next. Shaunak replied, Yesterday you narrated a conversation between the saints Maitreya and Vidur. Did they discuss anything else? If so, please tell. Sutta said, Listen as I repeat that conversation exactly as I heard it from great sage Shukadev Goswami. Beads of perspiration ran down Parikshit's face. He pulled his thin cotton shawl over his head to shield himself from the hot morning sun. Shukadev said, My dear king, do you need a rest? Parikshit smiled and bowed his head. Master, your account of Lord Kapila's teachings has enlivened my mind and senses. The pleasure I receive from your instructions alleviates all my difficulties. Please show your mercy by speaking more on these transcendental topics. Shukadev looked about him at the 60,000 sages who had come to the Ganges bank to be with Parikshit until his death in 6 days. Many were skeptical that Krishna is the Supreme Person and that devotion to him was life's greatest gain. Shukadev hoped they could now begin to appreciate the value of hearing and chanting about Krishna. If Krishna was not the Supreme Lord and hearing about him did not satisfy the senses, why was Parikshit free of anxiety and bodily disturbance? Yesterday morning he had been cursed to die in 7 days. He had immediately renounced his kingdom and family and come here to prepare for death, taking a vow to neither eat, drink, nor sleep. Shukadev had been speaking all through the night as the king sat listening to him without moving, yet by the power of these spiritual topics he was feeling no discomfort. Shukadev could see that many were deeply affected both by what they were hearing and by Parikshit's example, yet others still dismissed Parikshit's achievement as something they could do and remained unconvinced. Shukadev smiled to himself. Let's see how many of these skeptics succumb to the beauty, power and grace of Krishna by the end of this narrating Srimad Bhagavatam. Turning back to Parikshit, he said, O king, as I have already explained, Swambhuva Manu had 3 daughters and 2 sons. After concluding his account with Devahuti, Maitreya spoke about her other siblings. Listen to what he said. So there ends the introduction and prologue for this 4th canto, Krishna Fulfills All Desires. We will begin chapter 1, Manu's Descendants, next time. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.